Well, hello everybody and welcome to Lunch Break Live. Real talk about obesity, food obsession, recovery, and what's really eating you. I am Cari and on today's show, is it worth it? All right, before you guys decide if it's worth it, you should know why it's worth listening to me, aside from the fact that my maiden name is Worth. I'm a 2007 gastric bypass post-op, living life in recovery from obesity and obsessive compulsive food addiction as twice the woman in half the body. I am also a recovery strategist, and what that means is I help people figure out what's crap in their lives so they can cut through it and own it. It's not very pretty, but it really, really works. So I got to know, why is it worth it for you to be here? Why is, LBL even worth it? Why are you guys here in the first place? That's why I'm throwing it out there to you. So let me see who's here, first of all, and then you can answer that question for me. Let's see here. I am happy to report that I see my mom front and center. Yay, you made it. I know you were here last time, but Facebook just didn't let you in because it kicked me out. I totally get it, Mom. All righty. So, see, my mama is worth it. All right, Karma, hi, and Dorothy, and Kelly, all right, guys, and Tessie, I'm so glad that you're here. All right, welcome, welcome. Regina, you made it. Are you in Kentucky today, Regina? All right, you guys, so why is LBL worth it? For all of you guys who are regular viewers of the show, who have been spending time with me for a while, why is it worth it? I think it's good to know if you guys can put your comments on the wall if you think about it, because that way newer viewers will understand, why it's worth their time, why they should set aside time every day to listen to what I have to say. So, okay, good. You have a good connection and you're in Kentucky. So let me know what you got. All right. Hi. Okay. I know I'm going to get your name right. Sepide? Did I get that right? Sepide. Oh. Yeah, you've got to tell me how to pronounce it, because it looks really beautiful in writing, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Bonnie, I know how to pronounce Bonnie. Welcome in. All right, you always need support and encouragement, Karma says, so that's why this is worth it. Lunch Break Live is worth it for you because you always need support and encouragement. Okay, Seppi, I could totally do that. All right. Hi, Seppi. Are you a newer viewer? I don't remember ever seeing your name. Welcome in. I hope you will find that the show is worth your time. Georgette, hi. You're becoming a regular viewer now. I'm so glad to see your shiny face. All right. Welcome, welcome. Okay, Regina says, LBL keeps me on top of my program. It's a little mini meeting full of information and kick butt information. Plus, it's a kick in the butt, I think, right? Thank you. And Katie, you're becoming a regular viewer too. Katie, I'm so happy to see you here. And Judy, welcome in. Seppi, I'm so glad that you are here. And I hope that you become a regular viewer as well. And of course, I've got to know how you learned about LBL. So if you get a chance, let me know how you found the show. All right, you guys. So why on earth am I doing a show called Is It Worth It? Well, it's a very good question. It's something that I hear regularly from people, but they use it in different ways. It doesn't always mean the same thing, okay? I think that sometimes when we say, is it worth it, we are looking for a rationalization, evaluation, justification for different things, right? Is it worth it for me to do this so I can have that, right? Or is it worth it for me to have this if I have to do that? So there's a lot of different ways of looking at it. So let's kind of break it down. Let's talk about what it means to actually say something is worth it, because I think it's really important to recognize there are a lot of different ways to look at this. And I think in order for us to determine if something is worth it, whatever that it is, we should understand how we are using that phrase. What is the meaning of the phrase? All right. Welcome in, Melissa, and thank you so much for sharing the show. Really glad you're here. All right. So obviously, very important. Got to look up the meaning of the word, right? Okay. So according to the dictionary, worth. Again, that was my maiden name. Really hard to spell for people. W-O-R-T-H. Nothing tricky about it. And yet they always tried to make hard work out of it. Worth is the value equivalent to that of someone or something. Okay, so people can have a worth and things can have a worth, okay? Whatever it is, it's the value of that thing equivalent to that of someone or something under consideration. The level at which someone or something deserves, there's that word deserving, deserves to be valued or rated. Now think about this. Worth is also usefulness or importance. Is it important enough? Is it deserving of? Excellence. So if something is worth it, it's because it is excellent. How good is the thing? Is it useful or reliable? Right? How useful, how reliable is someone or something? You've heard the expression worth its weight in gold. Well, how so? How is something worth its weight? Now, the tricky part is it can be used as a noun or a verb or an adjective or a preposition, which means you can use it a lot of different ways. And I think that's what trips us up sometimes, because we will use it in one way even though we know we mean it another way. Okay? We'll say it one way and hear it another. And I think that's the tricky business here. But synonyms, merit. Does something have merit? You know, are we able to value it at all? Okay, you have to be able to value something in order for it to have worth. Benefit, does it have a benefit, right? Is it worth it? Is it beneficial to me? Is there an advantage to it? See? So worth can be an advantage, not just the value of something in terms of its weight, right? But in terms of how much, how strongly it will benefit you, and will it give you an advantage? Obviously, there's price and cost and the usefulness of something, right? It's worthiness, right, to you. Virtue. Okay, it's worth as a virtue. And I think, see, I really like to elevate the word to something of virtue, something being virtuous, because I think there is something virtuous about recovery. Utility, service, profit, help, aid, quality, caliber, consequence, distinction, desirability, appeal, sense, class, or rank. All right, so in other words, worth can mean just a whole bunch of things, right? A whole bunch of things. But I need to know what worth means to you. How do you use it when you decide if something is worth it, right? So if you believe something is worthwhile or worthy, what exactly are you saying? Does worth mean the same thing as value to you when you're using that expression? Let's dig deeper, all right? So based upon how you define the word, how you're using the word worth, what things are of great worth to you? This is what I want you guys to start thinking about, okay? Do you have the things you say are most worthy or valuable? So in other words, if you say something is worthy, whatever that something is, and we're going to get to those very, very specific things. Hi, Michelle. Whatever you say, and Anna and Nancy, welcome, welcome, okay? So if you say something is worthy or has great value, do you possess it? Do you have it? Okay? If you don't have it, I want to know, is it more valuable because you don't have it or because you can't have it? So that's, you don't have to answer this, but I just want you to think about this. When we're talking about the value of something, the worthiness of something, is it more worthy because we don't have it, right? We aspire to it, but we can't get our hands on it. We can't attain it, all right? Or is something more worthy or valuable because you actually can have it or do have it? So is it more worthy to you because you do have it or it is available to you to have? So is it out of reach or is it within your reach? Do you possess it or do you not have it or do not possess it, right? Is something less valuable if you can't have it or don't have it? So lots of things to think about. And again, this is digging deep and getting down into the heart of what eats us up. Right, when we're talking about how we're using these words, remember I say I'm on to me. I need to be honest with the way in which I am using these expressions. What sorts of things, I guess I'd have to ask, are not worth it? See, sometimes we back into things that have value or things that are worth it by saying, well, I know what's not worth it. Okay, let's talk about it. Crime, right? Crime. Is crime worth it or not worth it? Right? A lot of people can make justifications for when crime might be worth it. I'm not one of them, but I'm just saying there are some people that can say that. Does it depend upon the consequences or punishment to determine if the crime is worth it, or is crime always not worth it? Okay, now why on earth would I be asking this? This kind of taps into morality and ethics a little bit, right? How are we viewing things? If we view that crime pays and that as long as you don't get caught, it's worth it, well, then we're going to look at how that applies to the choices that we make about eating, the choices that we make about taking care of our bodies and our health, right? If we're looking at it and saying, oh, sure, you know what? crime is worth it sometimes as long as the punishment isn't too extreme or too severe. In other words, that's worth the risk to me. If that's where you're coming from, understand that that is how you're going to apply the definition in your own life about whether something is worthwhile or not. Okay? Have you ever determined that something wasn't worth it or didn't have value when you realized it was hard to obtain or achieve? So maybe you set out to do something and you said, oh yeah, that, you know what, that looks really good. I think that's very worthwhile. But then when you realized, you know what, I can't possess it, I can't have it, it's too hard, maybe it wasn't that valuable after all. Maybe it really wasn't worthwhile. Okay? Did you determine something wasn't worth it or valuable when you tried to obtain it, right? And just didn't. Just didn't. Maybe you just stopped. Something to consider. Can you value, can something that has value lose value? So something that you valued, all of a sudden, can it just lose value? Or can something that had no value suddenly gain value? Okay, I don't know. I'm just throwing a lot of questions out there. It's what I start. So I think you've got to rate the value of things to see if your actions back up what you say is worthwhile and has value. Okay, so let's talk about it. Number one thing a lot of people say, health. Oh, you know what? Health is worth it. My good health is worth it. Right? How many of you guys would say that and say your health is worth it? It is probably, you know what, if I was going to say like between 1 and 10, where 10 is the highest, how many of you guys would say health? Health is a 10. All right? Health is a 10. All right. How about these things? I want you to begin thinking about this. All right? Family. Is family a 10? Right? How worthy, how worthwhile, how valuable is family? Food. Okay? Now I'm just talking about all food. All food. Scale of 1 to 10, how worthwhile is it? How much value does it have? Here we go. Your weight. How much you weigh. When you look at it and you look at health and you hold health up here and you say, okay, I said health is a 10. Well, this number on the scale, this weight that I want to weigh, where does that value, what's the value of that relative to your health? Okay, you've got to ask yourself that. Is it a 10? Is your weight, the number on the scale, the same level of importance, significance, and value as your health? How about standing up for yourself? How valuable is standing up for yourself? Do you think that's very worthwhile? Do you think that has value? Do you think it is significant? Do you think it rates as a 10? Do you think it's a 9, an 8? Where is, especially relative to things like family and health, which people regularly say have significant value of utmost importance in life, right? More important than just about anything, your health and your family, right? So when we're talking about standing up for yourself, is that a 10? Or is it closer to a 1? Not all that important. How about confronting problems? Okay, this is getting a little bit harder. Confronting problems. Well, what does confronting problems have to do with anything? Oh, I don't know, just everything. Let's just talk about that. How about this? Forgiveness. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important, how much value, how worthwhile is forgiveness? Whether it's someone forgiving you or you forgiving someone else. Is it more valuable when someone else is forgiving you and less valuable when you are forgiving someone else? Do you have a sliding scale for that? Only you can answer these questions. This is not for me to answer. This is for you to personally answer. How about this one? Honesty. How important is honesty? Is honesty more important in someone else or in you? Or does it rate the same level of value? And is it worth the same amount to you? Your own honesty versus someone else's honesty. Someone being honest with you versus you being honest with you. You being honest with others, okay? Is it all the same? Is it a 10? Does it rate up there the same level as health? Or is it of lesser importance, all right? Awareness. To be aware. How important is that? Do you value that? Is that worthwhile? Is it worth it to do whatever it takes to be aware? Or is it less important and you say, you know what, I'd really rather not be that aware. That's not all that important to me. Maybe it's not. Being respected. How important is being respected? How about being liked? How important is being liked? How much do you value that? How worthwhile is that to you? Is it maybe that you put a lot of energy into being liked and you say, you know what? I put the same level of energy into being liked as I do being healthy. Or I at least believe that they would require the same amount of energy. Being liked. Yeah, you know what? That's important to me. I want to be liked. That's very important. I put a lot of energy. How about working out and being active? How important is that? Does that get the same level of value and worthiness as your health? It's a part of your health, right? How about this? Being wealthy, monetarily, having a lot of money. How important is that to you? I am not here to judge anyone's value that they place on anything. Nothing, whether they are characteristics or whether they are circumstances, situations, whatever it is, states of being. I'm not here to judge that. But I am asking you, what value do you place on that? How worthwhile is that to you to be wealthy monetarily? Okay? Is that a 10 to you? Is that in the same category as your health? Health and wealth, very important. You've got to know that, all right? Living in a big house, driving a nice car, because we do put a lot of energy into those things. And if it is, see, some of us, I'm just going to say it, some of us put a lot more, energy into driving a nice car or living in a big house than we do our own health. So maybe it is that we are putting more value on certain things and we aren't even aware that that's what we're doing. But when we sit down and think about it, we realize, yeah, you know what? I care a lot more about my car than I do my health. And yet I claim that my health is the most important thing in the world. We got to start looking at this, right? How about this one? Treating your addiction versus avoiding your addiction. How important is that? Is that a 10 or is it a lesser? It's not as worthwhile to me because it's too hard and I can't attain or achieve it. See, right? Remember I was asking you, are things more valuable because you can attain or possess them? Are they less valuable because you decide you can't get it or you don't have it? Something to consider, right? Sobriety, abstinence, and recovery. Okay? All of those things. What value do you place on them in your life? How worthwhile are those things and how worthy are you of having them? Okay? Something to consider. If your health is valuable, which we might have said was a 10, what is involved in having good health? If you believe health is valuable, are you doing what you need to do to achieve or attain it? And if you're not, why not? If you say it's worthwhile, why aren't you doing the things you need to do to achieve or attain that? Right? And I'm not saying that we don't have medical problems that would limit us from achieving the level of health that we want. I am discussing the part that we actually have influence over. The stuff that we actually can manage. I'm not talking about the things that are beyond our control that have to do with our health. I'm talking about the things that we influence, the things that we contribute to with our health, all right? Is good health worth working for? And if not, what would make it not worth it? Well, a lot of us might say, yes, having good health is worth working for, just not working out, that often or that hard, or just not eating my very favorite foods. That makes it not worth it. Well, but wait, it is worth it, but my behavior is proving that I don't think it's that worthwhile, right? That's what you got to ask yourself. Is your behavior actually a reflection of what you say you believe? Maybe it's not. Is standing up for yourself valuable? If you said that it was, do you stand up for yourself? Because if you don't, then it's either not valuable or there's a disconnect between what you have to do to get what you say you want. Or you're just giving it lip service. Yeah, that's important, but I'm not willing to do what I have to do to make that happen. I just think it's important. So it's either not important enough for you to do what you have to do, or you're okay not having what you say is very, very worthwhile in your life. You got to assign value based on your actions then. So if you're not doing what you need to do, you have to pull it back and say, okay, based on my actions, I said that standing up for myself is very, very important, but my actions don't bear out that level of importance. I either have to change what I'm doing to match the value that I just placed on that. I said that was a 10. Standing up for myself, defending myself, I said that was a 10, and yet my actions are closer to like a 2. So I either have to change my valuation of standing up for myself and say it's just not that important, it really is more like a 2, or I need to change what I'm doing so that it does match the value that I assigned to it. You're assigning these values, not me. If family matters to you, what are you doing to merit that value? If you say it's a 10, are you doing the things that you would do for things that are a 10, or are you treating it more like a 1? You have to make that decision. And if it is that you say it's a 10 and you're really only showing up about half the time, you know what you have to do. You either have to change the level of importance or change the thing that you're doing. All right? How about this? Let's see here. Okay, hold on. And sorry, this was really a tough show to put together because it's kind of deep, and I was like, oh my gosh, where am I going to go with this? Because I have so much to say about it, and it's so loaded. And I know it's kind of tricky. Here's what I want to know, okay? Here are some common things. Okay, here's what kind of brought this up for me. I know when I talk to people, and I'll say, they'll say to themselves, nothing feels as good, nothing tastes as good as being thin feels. That's what they'll say, right? So those cookies couldn't possibly taste as good to me as being thin feels, right? And yet they'll eat the cookies. So apparently that's not a true statement, right? So then you say, well, is it worth it to eat those cookies? And they'll go, yeah, those cookies are really good. So right now it is definitely worth it to me to eat those cookies. Right now I can find a million reasons why it's worth it. Because I'm not willing to look at the whole it feels good to be thin. I'm more focused on those cookies right now. And right now, those cookies are worth it because I had a hard day. I deserve them. I haven't had those cookies in a really long time. Someone baked them for me. I didn't expect them to be here. I am very stressed out. I don't have them all the time. Today's a special day. Okay? So, of course, it's worth it to me. So, is it worth it to not eat those cookies right now? Is it worth it to say no to the things on my abstinence list? It either is or it isn't. Okay? Is it worth it to not drink alcohol if I know that I could either potentially transfer my affections to that alcohol and have a really big problem, or I do have a problem? Is it worth it to not drink alcohol? Is it worth it to quit smoking? Is it worth it to weigh a certain number on the scale? Only you know the answer to these things. Is it worth it to you to weigh a certain number on the scale? If it is, then are your actions a reflection of what you say that is worth? Is it worth it to binge on your favorite food now? Right? Because you never know when you're going to have it again. Is it worth it to avoid confrontation at all costs? I mean, I know I want to stand up for myself, but you know what? I don't like confrontation. Is it worth it to avoid that? Will it just go away? Is it worth to stay home rather than going to a social event? I don't like how I look, so I'm going to stay home. Is that worth it to avoid going to that social event? What if it's a family event and it's a reunion and it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing? So is it worth it to stay home? Only you know. Is it worth it to just have one? Just one. Is it worth it? All right? How do you determine whether something is worth it or not? You got the cost-benefit analysis, right? So I have to pay this much. It's going to cost me this much if I want to attain this, if I want to achieve it. My job, what's your job worth? Is it worth 2 hours in traffic every day? You have to decide that. Well, it's worth the paycheck. I need a paycheck. It's the only job I can have. Okay, then you've decided that whatever it takes from you in order to have that is worth it to you. Your education, the traffic, your recovery. How worthwhile is your recovery? How, is the amount of work, the cost to you, the cost in saying no to things you like, is it worth your recovery? You have to decide that. It's a matter of kind of suffer now, suffer later thing. A lot of us are willing to trade what we want most for what we want now. You've heard that out there. A lot of us are willing to do that. But I want it now. And you don't want to think about the high price tag. The high price tag that you're going to pay because you wanted it now. You valued it highly. You felt it was worth it now. And you're not willing to think about the much higher price that you will pay later. It's a risk-reward thing that we always talk about. We're all about risk and reward, right? Perceived risk, actual risk, right? Is there a perceived risk in my starting to have just one cookie? Absolutely. That's a real risk because I know I won't stop once I start. You know yourself. If you'll stop, then okay, it's a low risk for you. What's the payoff? What's the benefit? Or what is the risk to me? Is there going to be physical risk? Am I physically going to be harmed by doing this? Is there going to be psychological risk? I can't trust myself anymore. If I do that, I know I can't trust myself and others won't trust me either, right? Oh, did you know, I read this, we are more willing to accept greater risk if we're in control. Did you know that? So we'll accept that risk because we're going to tell ourselves we're in control. Absolutely, I'll stop at just one. I'm in control, only you're not. But you're going to accept that greater risk that you won't stop because you're going to say, I'm in charge, and I just told myself that I would stop. I wouldn't eat that thing. At some point, here's the thing, I think we stopped asking if something was worthwhile or not. At some point, we stopped asking, for example, if over-consuming something was worth the risk because we decided that the reward outweighed the risk. And the benefit was always worth the cost because we want it and it's so yummy and it's so good. And I get to eat what everybody else eats and I get to hang out with my family. My mom made it and it just tastes so good and I feel loved. At some point, we decided that that behavior of over-consuming whatever it was, whether it was food or a behavior or a substance, anything else, was worth it. And we never went back and reevaluated it, ever. And at some point, it became less valuable and even harmful to us, but we didn't reevaluate our behaviors. We were still behaving as if it had more value than it did and was not as harmful as it really, really was. It's a gambler mentality, is what it is. We're gambling and we're not even acknowledging that fact. This always leads to that, okay? So for example, when I eat X, I don't stop X. That's one way, and I know that about myself, right? But a gambler says, this might not lead to that. This time I'll just have one bite because you know what? It may not get out of hand. Gambler mentality. This could lead to that. But really, what's the, come on, what are the odds? What this time is going to be different. This time's going to be different. See? And that's what we behave out of, isn't it? We ignore the facts in favor of experience, history, trends, patterns, and outcomes. So we know the outcome. We know our history. We know what experience dictates to us, but we ignore it so that we can have what we want now because we've decided it's worth it to have it right now. And that all of that experience and all of our history and the trends and the patterns and the outcomes and the misery, none of that matters because it's worth it right now to me. Okay, if your health is worth it to you, then the choice that you're making right now needs to match the value of your health, your good health that you said was important. If you said family was important to you, then the decisions you're making right now need to be a reflection of that. They need to lead to that, right? But how often do we sit here and say, it'll all work out okay in the end? It'll be fine. Here's the thing I know. Addiction is a liar. And it says, you can have just one. You can have just one. And knowing that you won't be done until there's no more left. So addiction is a liar that we believe that flies in the face of what we say we value most. But we believe that addiction is worth listening to, and we listen to it absolutely every time. What makes you think you're going to stop? Is eating X really worth it? You got to stop and ask yourself that. If this stuff matters, you got to stop and ask yourself. Don't listen to the lies of addiction that say you'll stop. I think it's time to reevaluate the worthiness of things, the worth of things, the value of things. I think it's time to reevaluate in your life. Okay? Because maybe it's been a long time since you've sat down and done that. Health is not as valuable to us when we're young and we have it. Of course it isn't. It just becomes more valuable when we don't have the good health, when it has a negative impact on us, when our fingers hurt and we can't use our thumbs anymore. Now a good working thumb, opposable thumb, now it matters to me a lot. It didn't matter to me when it worked, right? So a lot of the times, these things that we haven't reevaluated in a while need to be reevaluated because now they have become significantly more important to us, and yet our behavior does not reflect that. It does not reflect that value at all, right? Here's what I want to know. Do we stop doing things because we don't want to risk losing something of worth to us? Oh, that's so deep. Oh my gosh, what am I doing dropping that in at the end of the show? What the heck was I thinking? What the heck? Do we stop doing things because we don't want to risk losing something of worth to us? Only you can answer that. That's a recovery question. All right? It's that time. This is like a deep, deep show, guys. And you know, all right, I'm going like just a few more minutes if you want. Just a few more minutes. Because here's what I'm thinking. I want to kind of drive home the point just a little bit right now. What if the doctor could guarantee you that you would lose 75% of your excess weight and have a BMI in the overweight but not obese range? Would you do what the doctor told you to do? You got to ask yourself that. What if the doctor said that there was a 25% chance you'd lose 100% of your excess weight? 25% chance, okay? That you'll lose 100% of it. But there's a 75% chance that you'd only lose 50% of your excess weight. Would you take that risk and do what the doctor told you to do? What if the doctor gave you a 50% chance that you wouldn't regain your excess weight and would maintain what you lost, but there was a 50% chance that you would regain and not maintain? Would it be worth it to take those odds? Or are you saying, I don't know, it depends. What do I have to do to get those odds? Well, they're out there now. And guess what? You're already living by those odds. Every time you make a choice that says, you know what, I'm willing to take a risk that I won't regain all of my weight, but I'm not going to do what I need to do to keep that weight off. Every time we take a risk, every time. What if the doctor said you can never eat simplex carbs ever again, but you'd be able to keep off all your weight? Would you do it? Okay, you can eat simplex carbs 2 days a week, but there's only like a 50-50 shot for you. Would you do that? You can splurge 1 day a week. You can just go hog wild. You can just go crazy. Okay, but you have to be extra vigilant the other 6. Again, 50-50 shot at this one. You willing to do that? Risk versus reward, right? We look at it and say, what am I willing to do to get what I say I want? Cost-benefit analysis. We got to look at it. What's it going to cost me, okay? How hard is it going to be? Am I capable of doing it? Can I pay that price? Is this reasonable for my lifestyle? Am I signing on the dotted line for something that I cannot possibly do, but expecting that reward anyway? In other words, am I taking a risk that I will receive a reward even though what I'm being asked to do in order to obtain that reward I can't possibly do? I'm going to say a lot of us are living in that place. A lot of us want the reward, but we're not taking the risk, or we're taking the risk that will not yield a reward. A lot of us are doing that. What is it worth to you? That's the question you have to ask yourself, psychologically, physiologically, emotionally, and spiritually. What is the price tag that is attached to whatever this decision is, this choice that I'm making right now? What is it going to cost me? Not right now. Not right now. Sometimes it's like we buy things on credit, right? Oh, it doesn't hurt because I got the thing I wanted right now. And then the bill comes after Christmas, right? Had a great Christmas, charged up the charge cards. Oh my gosh, it felt so great to be able to buy everything I wanted. I went out and I went shopping and I bought everything, all these clothes that fit me perfectly, and it was so great. It didn't hurt at all. It was just pure reward, baby, pure reward, because now things fit me and they didn't used to. Uh-oh, now I just got the bill. I got the credit card bill. Uh-oh, I can't even make the minimum payment. Look at the interest rate. Ouch, now it hurts. Now tell me, was it really worth the risk? Well, it was worth the risk in the moment because there was no risk. It was all reward. And now it's all risk and no reward, right? I already ate that cake like, last week, but it's showing up on the scale today. At the time, oh, it was worth it because it didn't show up on the scale or in my pants or anything else. But now, oh, baby, I am now paying the price, way, way higher price tag than I would have paid if I had just said no to the cake then. And that is the crux of this whole thing. Do not trade what you want most for what you want now. It is time for you to say, look, I know what I want, and I know what I think is important to me right now. The cookie's on that plate. But I need to step back and say, is it worth it, given what I say I want, which is not to feel miserable about myself tomorrow, not to regain my weight, not to have tight pants, but to say, no, I'm going to take that little bit of pain right now that says no, because I will get reward tomorrow. By taking a little bit of no right now, I get a lot of yes later. That's what we need to look at. That's worthwhile behavior. That's value. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to say no now so that you will have good health later? So that you will maintain a healthy weight later? Is it worth it to you now to stand up for yourself and confront that issue, confront that person that has been doing you great harm, knowing that if you don't confront it now, it will continue to harm you later. There will be a high emotional price tag, a high mental price tag. Maybe there will be a high physical price tag, a high spiritual price tag if you don't honor your truth and if you live in denial of your reality. Ouch, you will pay a high spiritual price tag. You have got to decide that. I cannot decide it for you. Do you make decisions based on how you feel right now or how you will feel later? I want that ice cream right now. If I eat that ice cream right now, I will feel bad later. Guarantee it, right? Did you calculate the risk, or did you decide that the value of that behavior was based on what you wanted now? I ate the ice cream now because I wanted it now. I wasn't thinking about how I'd feel later. Now it's later and I feel really bad, and I'm going to keep feeling bad long after I ate the ice cream. And so that is what this is all about. Only you can decide if it's worth it, whatever that is. The investment of your time, the investment of your brain cells, right? The investment of your physical body, right? The investment of a little bit of pain, a little bit of, facing your fear. Is it worth it? That's up to you to decide. And in order to decide if it's worth it, you have to decide the value of that thing for which you are going to work, for which you are going to make the tough choices. You know what they say, things that are the most valuable are the most worthwhile when you had to work hard to get them. They matter more to you. They have much more value because you worked for them. That's what I want you to understand. Recovery is priceless. It's priceless. It is beyond value, right? But you have to be willing to do what it takes to get it. And that's going to involve saying no to some things, but saying yes to a whole lot more. All right? So I'm going to leave you with that sort of a show for today. I don't know. Was it worth it? We'll have to talk about that later. But I know that it was worth it for me to spend this time with you guys and spend time with you every day. It is so worth it to me and my recovery, and I am really grateful to you. And you know what else is worth it as I go way long? The fact that the Recovery Rebel t-shirts will be done today. That's what I'm talking about. I just found out they're going to be done tonight. And you know what that means? As soon as I get my hot little hands on them, I'm going to be shipping them out to all of you people that ordered them. So you are going to be receiving them before you know it. So you could start taking pictures of yourselves wearing them and rebelling to the old you. Rebelling to the old you that said, yeah, that cookie is a lot more worthwhile than all of the heavy price tag I'm going to have to pay for it on the scale and in my mind and in my heart later. Oh yeah, I want you guys to take pictures of yourself rebelling against those unhealthy behaviors. It's going to be super fun. So those are coming. Don't worry, I'll alert you when I ship them. I'm super excited. I can't wait to put mine on. All right, you guys, so I'm going to let you go. It's been way too long and way too tough, but I think it was worth it. So I'm going to sign off and remind you all to have courage, seek peace, embrace joy, and above all, live your recovery because it's worth it. Remember, you can't stop feeding what's eating you if you don't know what's eating you. I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care and remember to share the show. Bye.